On January 5th, 2025, the government finally admitted it had been shortchanging millions of retirees for more than 40 years. Teachers, firefighters, police officers, and widows had their Social Security cut or erased by two old rules called WEP and GPO. Now those rules are gone, retroactive to January 2024. Some people are owed more than $22,000. But here's the problem. Social Security is not coming to find you. If you were born before 1963, you may have to claim it yourself. This is the Social Security Fairness Act. It erased two formulas that stripped benefits from millions of teachers, firefighters, police officers, and their spouses. The money is real. An average retroactive check of $6,710, plus larger monthly checks for life. But nobody is chasing you down. So the only question that matters is this: are you one of the people owed? For more than 4 decades, Social Security had two quiet traps. The first, the windfall elimination provision, arrived in 1983. It reduced a worker's Social Security check if they also received a government pension from a job that never paid Social Security taxes. The second, the government pension offset, went back even further to 1977. It cut spousal and survivor benefits by 2/3 of that pension. In real life, a widow married to a teacher could see her survivor check reduced from a few $100s to exactly zero. Lawmakers called it fairness. They said they were stopping double dipping. But the people affected were often not wealthy. Teachers in 15 states, firefighters, police officers, and federal employees hired before 1984 had earned credit through second jobs, yet their benefits were slashed anyway. For years, unions fought and bills failed. Then, on January 5th, 2025, President Biden signed the Social Security Fairness Act. It killed both rules retroactively to January 2024. That meant more than 3 million people were owed back pay, plus higher monthly benefits for life. The average retroactive check came to $6,710. The average monthly increase was $360. Some widows were owed more than $22,000. But as of July 7th, 2025, the agency had still not finished. Spousal and survivor cases moved slowest. Some people got partial payments, others heard nothing, and the government was not calling. That is the catch. The money is owed, but unclaimed benefits just sit there. So, if you are not sure whether you are in the system, the next few minutes matter. Here is what most people get wrong. People assume this law only affects retirees with government jobs. They assume if they are already receiving Social Security, the correction happened automatically. It did not. Millions of people with mixed careers fall through the cracks. A teacher who paid into Social Security through summer jobs. A police officer who worked private security before joining the force. A federal employee who spent years in the private sector before 1984. Under the old rules, any of them could have seen their Social Security check cut by up to $587 a month. That is more than $7,000 a year, every year gone. Then there are the survivors. The government pension offset was brutal. If your spouse earned a government pension, Social Security could cut your survivor benefit by 2/3 of that pension. If the pension was large enough, your survivor check went to zero, not reduced, erased. Men and women who never worked in government themselves were denied benefits based entirely on a spouse's career. The new law says they are owed those lost checks back to January 2024. For many, the total is more than $22,000. But the financial damage did not stop there. When the windfall elimination provision reduced a retirement check, it also reduced the base for future cost of living increases. So a person who lost $200 a month in 1990 lost it every year after, with smaller raises on an artificially smaller check. Over a 20-year retirement, that single penalty could take tens of thousands of dollars from a family's budget. That is why the Fairness Act had to be retroactive. It was not just fixing future checks. It was repairing decades of compounded losses. Here is the problem. The Social Security Administration says it completed more than 3 million payments by July 7th, 2025. It moved 5 months ahead of schedule. That sounds reassuring. But completed does not mean correct. The agency relied heavily on automated systems. If your case was simple, you got paid. If your file had missing pension data, an outdated address, a deceased spouse's records, or a direct deposit number that changed, the system could have skipped you. Or it might have paid the wrong amount. And here is the worst part. The government does not call you. It does not send a notice saying, "We owe you." Unclaimed money just sits in the system. It does not earn interest. It does not grow. It simply waits. Spousal and survivor cases are the slowest. They are more likely to be incomplete. Some people received partial back pay, but not the full amount. Others got only a letter saying the case is under review. Still, they wait. They call. They are told to be patient. Meanwhile, months pass. That is why the difference between being paid and being forgotten is not about luck. It comes down to 3 specific steps. But before you touch the phone, you need to understand one thing that is blocking more people than any other. It is not what you ask, it is what you do not say. That final line is not a trick. It is the single biggest reason people leave money on the table. When you call Social Security and say, "Am I affected by the Fairness Act?" you are asking a question that can be answered with one word: no. And if the person on the other end does not see an obvious reduction code in front of them, that is exactly what they will say. But your file might be missing key pension data, or your spouse's record might be flagged under the old law. Or you may have been denied survivor benefits years ago, and the denial is still sitting there, untouched, because the new law does not automatically reopen old claims. Think about what that means. A widow who applied for survivor benefits in 2019 and was denied because of the government pension offset may still be listed as denied. The Fairness Act erased the offset, but if nobody tells the system to reconsider that old denial, the system does nothing. The money is owed, but the claim remains closed. That is not a delay. That is a silent refusal. Then there are the partial payers. This is the wait. It gets worse moment. The Social Security Administration processes worker benefits and survivor benefits through separate records. A person with both a government pension and a spouse's work history can have 2 different claims. They might get a retroactive payment for their own Social Security record. It looks like a win. They see $6,000 and think they are done. But their survivor claim might still be pending or blocked. Their spousal record might not have been updated. If they do not check both, they will never know. And the agency will not call to say, "By the way, you are also owed another $11,000. That call does not exist. Here is another layer. Some people never applied for Social Security at all because the old rules convinced them they were not eligible. Teachers were told for years that their pension would wipe out their benefits. Firefighters heard they would never get a spousal or survivor check. So they never filed. The new law fixed the rules, but it cannot fix an application that was never submitted. If Social Security has no record of you, they have no obligation to find you. You are not in the queue. You are invisible. And here's the detail that should make you move. These retroactive payments do not earn interest. They sit there in the federal system, frozen, while inflation eats their value. The longer you wait, the less your correction is worth in real terms. The Social Security Administration finished over 3 million payments by July 7, 2025. It moved 5 months ahead of schedule. But the fast payments went to the easy cases. The complicated ones, the widows, the denied claims, the mixed careers, those are still backlogged. And some may never be touched unless someone asks. The Congressional Budget Office says this law will pay out $196 billion over 10 years. That is not a small program. That is one of the largest benefit corrections in Social Security history. Yet it is also the kind of program that speeds up the trust fund's insolvency by about 6 months, pushing it closer to 2035. That means future retirees will face cuts if Congress does not act again. The clock is not just ticking for the unclaimed checks. It is ticking for the entire system. But you can do something about your own money right now. The difference between getting paid and being forgotten is not complicated. It is 3 specific steps, but the order matters. And the first step is the one almost everyone skips. Step 1 is not to call. It is to look. Log into your My Social Security account on ssi.gov. If you do not have an account, create one. Once inside, pull up your benefit verification letter. Look for any mention of the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset. If you see a reduction code for either one, your case has not been corrected. The new law should have removed it. If the code is still there, you are owed money. That is not a maybe. That is a record sitting inside the system, waiting for someone to notice it. Step 2 is the phone call. The number is 1-800-772-1213. When you reach Social Security, do not ask a yes or no question. Say this instead: I'm calling to verify whether my Social Security benefit has been corrected under the Social Security Fairness Act, and if any reduction from WEP or GPO remains, I want to request a reconsideration. Those words matter. They force the representative to look at your actual payment record, not just answer from the first screen. If they say your case is still processing, ask for a timeline. If they say no reduction exists, ask them to confirm that your pension data is in the file. Missing pension information is one of the top reasons payments are skipped. Step 3 is for widows and widowers, and this is where the system is most broken. If your survivor benefit was denied or reduced to 0 under the old government pension offset, do not assume the Fairness Act automatically reopened your case. It did not. You must ask a different question. Say, does my survivor benefit require a new application rather than a reconsideration? In many cases, an old denial stays closed until you ask for a new review. Some people who were told no years ago are owed more than $22,000 today. But the money will not move until the wrong denial is challenged. And here is the final surprising detail. Not everyone is affected. 72% of state and local public employees already paid into Social Security and were never penalized by these rules. So if that is you, this does not apply. But if you worked for a school system, a fire department, a police force, or the federal government before 1984, or if your spouse did, you cannot afford to assume you are in the clear. The money is owed, but it will not earn interest while it sits. It will not grow. It will just sit there, waiting for someone to say the right words. Here is the part nobody talks about. This law is not just about retroactive checks. It is a warning about how quietly benefits can be taken and how quietly they can be returned. For 40 years, millions of people lost money they were promised, and most never knew why. The Fairness Act fixed the formula, but it did not fix the silence. The system still assumes you will check your own record, question your own denial, and claim your own correction. If you are over 60, or if your parents are, do not assume this is handled. Look at the letter. Make the call. Ask the exact question. And if this applies to someone you know, send them this video before another month goes by. The money does not earn interest. The only thing growing is the number of people who still do not know. If this was helpful, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next one could be about your retirement too.